Dendisign is a cloud-based software, so we start by logging in to dendisign.com. Then we click here to log in, and it'll be redirected to our login page. We just have to put in our email and our password and click on login. Once we've logged in, this is the dashboard where we will see all the patients we have. And to create a new patient, we just click on new patient. We type in a name, a last name, select an age range, select a gender, and language. It is not mandatory to select clinic or billing information. Once we've done all this, we go ahead and click next. We have the option to do aligners or surgery. In this case, we're going to click aligners. We're also going to click on in-house design because we are going to design the treatment ourselves. And then we're going to click on STL export. None of these require any credits or payments. It is totally free. So once we've selected what type of treatment we want, what type of design, and then what type of fabrication, we just click next. And it is mandatory to upload STL files, upper and lower arch. Once we've done that, we click next. We can also upload extraoral photographs. It is not mandatory to upload extraoral photographs. In this case, I will be uploading intraoral. Once that's done, we can go ahead and click next. We can also upload x-rays, but that is also optional. And we click finish. Once our patient has been successfully added and the treatment files are being uploaded, we can wait a few seconds and we are going to click on Design Now. So this is the first step of our software. This is where we are going to check if the STL files that we are loading are correct. Once we've verified that, we are going to go to the next step. And we're on to the second step, which is the STL edition. If we wanted to change the language, we can click on the configuration or adjustments icon, click on language, and we can change the language. So let's go ahead to the first step and do the STL positioning, which is very important. For the AI to work correctly, we have to position our STLs with the midline and the occlusal plane. In this case, we can click the information icon. We have a chat. We have the request icon where we are going to see the requests of the treatment and the files we have uploaded. So I can click on one and see how I can orient my models. This looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and do it like that. Perfect. We also have the list of changes and modifications if we want to modify the treatment. So once we've oriented our STL files with the midline and the occlusal plane, we will go on to the next tool, which is the smoothing tool, where we can change the diameter of our brush and we can smooth out anything we'd like by pressing Shift. We can smooth out anything we want in the mesh. If we have leftover attachments or we just want to smooth out the mesh, we can use this tool. Next, we have the mesh removal tool. Since these are raw files, if I'd like to delete any part of the mesh, I can definitely do that by making my brush diameter bigger. I'm clicking Shift. I can select what parts of the mesh I want to delete. For example, if I wanted to delete this, I could definitely do that. Or any parts of the mesh I consider I do not want. I'm going to click Remove. And there I have a clean mesh. If I want clean models, I also have the removing floating regions tool, which the AI is going to analyze if we have any floating regions or any particles floating around. So I just click on Analyze and Remove, and we get clean models, clean STL files. Next, we are going to do the gum extrusion, where we have upper and lower. I'm going to start with the lower jaw. I have two planes, the red plane and the green plane. The red plane is where I'm going to cut my model, and the green plane is how much extrusion, how much height I'm going to give my base. I can also select if I want a hollow interior or a solid interior. In this case, I'm going to select a solid interior. So we go ahead and click on Compute Extrusion. And there we have it. We are going to go ahead and do the upper jaw. As I said, the red plane is where we're going to cut the model, and the green plane is where we are going to give it the extrusion. So I'm going to orient my planes. This is where I want to cut. This is the height I want to give it. And I want a solid interior. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Compute Extrusion. And there we have it. So now we are going to click Next. And we're on to teeth segmentation. Our software has 6 steps: the STL load, the STL addition, which we just did. Now we're going to do the teeth segmentation. Then we go on to axes and roots, treatment plan, and publishing. For the segmentation, we are going to use our AI. It only takes 10 seconds or less per arch. And it is very precise. Once we have the upper jaw, we wait until the lower jaw is done. And there we have it. Let's go ahead and do some adjustments if needed. In this case, we only need to adjust third molars. So by making my brush diameter bigger and clicking on the tooth I want to color in, I click on Shift and I color in my tooth. If I wanted to erase, I press Ctrl. Now I'm going to click on number 28, press on Shift and color in my tooth. If I wanted to erase something or modify it, I can make my brush diameter smaller, and there we have it. Let's check the lower jaw. Lower jaw is perfect, so let's go ahead and click Next. And we're on to axes and roots. So we also have an AI to calculate the roots if we have not uploaded the CBCT. And once it is loaded, we can also make some manual adjustments. We just have to click on the root and make some small adjustments. Once the roots are correctly orientated, we just click Next and go on to the treatment plan. In the viewer, we have the previous step button, next step, saving button, undo and redo, upper jaw, lower jaw, both, frontal view, upper view, lower, left occlusion, right occlusion, rear view, and then we have the grid. As you can see, the grid shows an extended version of the arches, so leveling the occlusal plane can be easier. We also have the timeline. So let's go ahead and start planning our treatment. This is a case with class 1 on the left side and class 2 on the right side. So let's go ahead and perform a third molar extraction by clicking on the right side of the mouse. We just click on remove and we extract the tooth in all the steps. Now to visualize how much distalization I have to do, I will put it in right occlusion, select multiple teeth by pressing Ctrl, and in my movement chart, I will just input how much distalization I want to do. In this case, 2 millimeters looks good. Now I'm going to activate my interdental distances to see how much contact I have in between each tooth before calculating the steps, so I can avoid IPR in early stages. Once we have our final position, we can go ahead and stage our treatment. So we just click on 0 and then step 1 and do the automatic calculation. We can calculate the intermediate steps with a normal protocol, being these the values of movement per aligner. We also have the periodontal protocol and the custom protocol, in which you can customize how much movement you want per aligner. In this case, I'm going to go with the normal protocol and click on calculate. Once it is done calculating my intermediate steps, I'm going to go ahead and use my evolution panel to stage my treatment. In this case, since I'm doing the distalization, I'm going to go ahead and add some steps to be able to stage my treatment correctly for a distalization. So I'm going to go ahead and add 25 aligners, Besides my evolution panel, I also have the movements table in which I can see the movements per aligner. Clicking on the step value, I can also see the accumulated movement from step 1 to step 11, 12, 13, and I can also see the total movement in the treatment. I also have the Bolton table, and where I have the ratio from 3 to 3 and 6 to 6, and I can see the mesial-distal length of each tooth. I can also check my occlusogram, which works in real time and shows all the contacts being generated in the treatment while we are doing the steps. I can see it with more detail, less detail. We can also enable or disable IPR, enable or disable interdental distances, and so on. So now that I have my staging and I like my final position, I'm going to go ahead and calculate IPR. And once I have calculated the IPR, I can, for example, group them all in the first aligner if that is what I wish to do. I can also modify if I consider I do not have to do IPR in some stage. I can click and delete or click and modify the value of the IPR. Once we've calculated our IPR, let's go ahead and do our attachments. We click on the attachments icon, and this is what we are going to see. I'm going to hide my IPR to have a better view. We can either place attachments manually. We just have to click on a tooth, click on the attachment. It's going to ask me if I want in all the steps or in certain steps. I can click on Shift to change the size. And if I do the right click, I can change the steps I want it in and the thickness. If I want to use the AI, I can press on automatic calculation, and according to the movements planned, it is going to place attachments. I can modify them manually if I want to change their size or position. And I can delete some attachments if I wanted to. Once we have our attachments placed, we can also place tabs. If I wanted to put a cutout, I just move my attachment and I place my cutout for a button, for example. If we had a missing tooth, we can also click on Pontics, and it will recognize if there is a missing tooth, and we can just add it and put the Pontic. The Pontic will change its size and shape according to the movements planned. Once we have everything done, we are going to click Next and go on to our last step, which is publishing and production. We still have available the same tools, panels. We can also add some labeling. I just have to click on a tooth and add a label. I can also change the size of the label, and I will see it in every aligner. I also have a very important tool, the blockouts or blockers, in which the AI will detect if I have a space, an interdental space of more than 0.6 millimeters, and it is going to add an automatic blockout. These blockouts are totally customizable. I can modify their position and I can modify their shape and size. I can also add a blockout manually if I wanted to add it where I have less than 0.6. I just have to click on the interdental distance and I add a blocker. I can also modify shape and size. Once we have all our blockouts, I can go ahead and add a fixture. And the fixture is completely customizable. We can move and we can orientate correctly, so we won't have any problems when we are putting the model into a machine. We can also enable the base, so we can see that our model is completely inside the base. Once we are done and we are happy with our treatment, I can select what aligners I want to print out. I don't have to print out all of them, so I can, for example, click on 0 to 5, and the Download STL button will enable. I just click on Download STL, and in a few seconds, I will have my STL files saved in my computer. So I just click here. And these are my aligners. I have active aligners, upper, lower, I have passive aligners, and I have templates. So for example, let's go ahead and do an upper aligner, number 5. And here we have it with our fixture, our attachments, our blockouts. This is what we will be printing out.